Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. It's Friday night, kind of cold. We've been sitting in the 80s, southwest winds, tons of dust. Today the wind shifted to the north, and it actually stayed out of the north long enough to make it cold right now. So I'm going to try to get this done pretty quick because A, it's 10 p.m., and B, I've got to edit, upload this, and have it out for you in the morning. So as the title, again, I haven't made the title or the thumbnail. I try to be a straight shooter here on YouTube, not do the typical cliche YouTuber crud, blacked out, blurred out, thumbnail with a misleading title. Maybe one of the two here. Try to have a little bit of fun, right? But I honestly do believe we have bought the biggest piece of equipment that Harbor Freight sells. So the question now is, where is it? And I just can't seem to find it anywhere. And, this bench is a mess, but I'm not seeing it. Coming in over here, oh, there's a little tray I got in that I've been meaning to make a video on, which is why it has nothing. Not under the hood of the Duster. It's not over here in Motorville. Ooh, look at this new work surface. I've sort of had one of these earlier on a bigger piece. And now I tell you what, look at that work surface. It's not the sawhorses I want you to be impressed by, but I probably got like, what, $80 worth of plywood on top of that? Yeah. We could do some damage with that. Go sell that in town and get the money back for some KC tool stuff, right? That's also not up here. It's not that green thing. It's not the 408 for the truck. But oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, backing up there. Yeah. Oh, there it is. That is the new gantry crane in the shop. Now, full disclosure here. I'm a straight shooter. I don't lie to you. Don't try to mislead you. I've been in the market for a gantry crane for quite some time. Many of you will probably recall that video if you're loyal viewers of the channel. I was talking gantry cranes, TIG welders, pallet racks, and blast cabinets, I believe. That's kind of telling you that's some of the stuff I hope to accomplish this year. And with the gantry crane, I never imagined I would have wound up with one from Harbor Freight. You hear a gantry crane, you understand what it is, and you think Harbor Freight, and you think, no, that's an important piece of equipment. It's going to be load bearing. I'm working solo with it. I want something I can trust and feel safe with, and I don't know that that's going to happen. Looking at it online, to their credit, it looks better than several of the counterparts. There's only like a handful of these things, right? A lot of them are just the same unit under a different brand with different paint. So there's some similarly priced, but you're like, man, that one actually looks better. And still, I was staying away from it, and I thought, you know what, I should probably build my own, and I thought about it, and it's like, okay, I sort of drew out what I wanted, and I'm like, all right, that's going to be really heavy. I don't know how I'm going to stand it up. And, I don't know how I'm going to get the I-beam up if I build the braces and then put the I-beam on. And ultimately, I decided I was going to go with aluminum. This is where the TIG welder comes in. The issue with aluminum is it's awesome. It's lightweight. It's strong. If you equip it right, like get super overkill on the I-beam and I could manhandle the thing. No issues there. The issue is I would have to TIG weld it. The problem there, A, I've never TIG welded. B, I ain't got a TIG welder. So we've got some problems and additional expenses on that front. So I sort of went back to the metal stuff, and again I came up with the conclusion like, if I build this, it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be way too heavy. It's going to be overbuilt, over-engineered, and I'm not going to be able to stand it. It's like those old parables. The person has this plan for a mansion, and they throw out the foundation, and they don't have the money to do the house. That would be it. But I'd have this awesome gantry crane, but instead of that I-beam and trolley being at the top, it would be on the ground, and I'd look like an idiot for everyone that came in here, which I'd probably keep people out because that's embarrassing. And, tried to figure out what to do. I was watching all the videos. I will tell you right now, if I remember to do this late tonight, I will link his channel or at least the video, something like that. But the one I found on YouTube I liked the best was from Idaho Fabricator. That's actually how I found his channel. And it's a guy up, obviously, if you didn't guess, Idaho. And, he needed a gantry crane to pull the bed off of his truck. And he home built one, and it's awesome. His is actually adjustable. Super, super nice. Again, I'll try to remember to link that. But again, if I built that, it would be so heavy. It would be difficult to stand up. So As fate would have it, one day I was actually planning on just getting in a giant aluminum I-beam, and I wanted to run it. I was going to get like a 24 foot, however they sold it. This is 30 by 40, and I've got 13 feet 3 inches between these trusses, and I was just going to run it over. I was going to weld some tabs down or drill it, obviously, because I didn't have a TIG welder. And I was thinking, all right, I'm going to get like some 3 or 4 inch channel, drill into it, brace it, and all I was going to do, is come in and use it to get the motor in the truck, and then I'd deal with building the actual gantry later. That didn't happen, but when I was at Harbor Freight in Lubbock, I was planning to buy a 2-ton trolley, chain hoist I should say, and trolley, which you can see here. When I was doing that, this store had something that I'd never seen at my other Harbor Freight stores that I frequent. They're not many, but the ones I've been in didn't have it, and that was this thing. Seeing this in person changed everything for me, because it actually turned out to be impressive. Like, hearing Gantry Crane, hearing Harbor Freight, you get like negative connotations, and that's just sort of what I ran with. I was totally upfront with you and honest, and I said, it actually does look significantly better than some of the other offerings in the comparable price range. But seeing this thing in person, I was actually really impressed by it. And the adjustable part is nice. I mean, you can see it's thick steel. Obviously, if you got square tube in square tube, yes, you could have square tubing welded here, but keep in mind, this has to be something that you can load in the back of a truck or a trailer and have a person assemble. So you just get these round braces. The I-beam, fairly nice for what it is. Again, it's rated, it's, 2,000 pounds, 1 ton, whatever you want to call it. Pretty nice. Now, this in its current configuration is as low as it goes. It's approximately just shy of 8 feet. Don't hold me to that. Hold me to this, though. I know for a fact, I remember the I-beam length, 111 inches. So basically like 8 by 111. Imagine that as your rectangular shape that you need to have clearance for. Some of the hardware was really good. It was like 8.8, which that's kind of like more aligned with grade 8. Some of it was not really great at like 4.8. The flat washers were disgusting and cause for concern. So yours truly came in. I kept it metric because I didn't want to have to like bore out any holes or anything crazy. And I've upgraded everything to 10.9. I've got flats on both sides, and the nuts, I made every single thing, including something as minuscule as this little brace. What's that? It's an eye lock, that's right. So even though I didn't wind up building my own, I did over-engineer the hardware. And I'll tell you right now, I'm sure what they sent is sufficient, and I'm sure, passed inspection, because otherwise that would be a big no-no. There'd be a class action lawsuit, wrongful death, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I flipped also. I use like an aviation mindset, so top down, forward out. Instead of having the nut on the top, I put the fastener, the bolt head on the top with the nut on the bottom. That way, if the nut ever does back off, which it shouldn't because it's an eye lock, but if it were to, I still at least have the bolt in place, right? So that's really all I changed. This, I think, would have clamped down and like held it in place better, but I didn't want to like do that, so I wound up putting washers in, which was kind of a struggle, but this is rock solid. There's no flex at all. I might have a really long video of assembling this thing and standing it. Don't hold me to that. It depends if I feel like editing it. But this is it, and I've got to say, I've used it actually a fair bit so far, and I'm actually very happy with it. So, but again, since it was on display at that store, that's when I actually saw it. I got to inspect it like I just did with you. Again, just checking out, like I assume that was like some cheap thin wall rectangular tubing that would collapse. It's actually decent. It's not necessarily 250 like I would have done. But it's a nice unit, especially for the price. Something cool that happened to me. I bought this thing at the start of February, right before the 20% coupon disappeared. So I'm all in on this thing for like right north of 600. Obviously, I did spend quite a chunk of change upgrading every bit of hardware. And then the big, I guess, modification you would say that I made is that little guy right there. gold. That's grade 8. I know. I ran a half-13 in machinery eyes, and I went old school there. So here, right above the pillar, dead in the middle, and right above that pillar, I've got machinery eyes. Why are there machinery eyes? I needed to lift this thing and stand it up. Otherwise, I would have been the laughing stock again with a gantry crane that was laying on the floor and absolutely useless. So it was an ordeal, I'm not going to lie. It required my mom over here to call if something really bad happened. I put my nephew on a 2-ton chain hoist. I was on a 1-ton chain hoist. I put my sister back there with a ratchet strap. There's a few videos of people assembling these, and it's usually pretty sketchy what happens. This actually went really, really well. Aside from my first attempt, I was 1.5 inches too short. I couldn't stand it up. So basically the distance you see from the machinery eye with the hook of the chain hoist, which you can see there on the motor, with the body of the chain hoist and the top hook, that's all the space that's there. It literally, that's maxed out at that point in time. It can lift no higher due to space constraints. It somehow all worked. My big fear was going side to side. I did not want to put a dent in the side of the duster. Yes, it would add character, but hey, not something I wanted to have happen. And with it being that tight, it actually worked out that it had no side-to-side movement because there was nowhere it could go. Now, sketchiest part of what we did is whenever it was coming up, we had to get this leg, you know, it was up in the air and it had to go forward like that. I put the brakes intentionally on the front casters closest to the truck there so I could have them broke, if you will, and slow the roll, quite literally. That's also why my sister had the ratchet strap. You don't put these A-frame pieces on until it's standing in the upright position, so I had her anchored there. And then I got my nephew to safety, and I kind of came in with, I think, the little halter mallet back there on the cherry picker. So it worked. We're all alive, and most importantly, the gantry crane's functional. So I did kind of cheat, and I put the trolley on the I-beam when it was on the ground, because hey, why not, right? So saved myself that trouble. But, that's kind of it. That is my big addition to the shop. And again, just like at the start when I told you I would be very leery of a gantry crane from Harbor Freight, I'm going to tell you right now, it's actually pretty nice. I will tell you, full disclosure, if I built one out of steel, it would be way beefier and way heavier than this. If I built one out of aluminum, it would be braced, ridiculous, and complete overkill as well. But for what I'm doing, I think this is more than sufficient. It's got the height adjustment, which I was actually going to leave that out. You know, if I ever wound up moving or getting a bigger shop, this is one of those things like, I'll sell it to you for the low, low price, sort of like your airlines. You know, do you really want to take them, or do you want to just like say, hey, give me, you know, $100 and I'll leave them, type of a deal. So that was the logic there. And in terms of the gantry crane, we had an issue with the truck pulling the motor out. The cherry picker, okay, it's been great. It's served me very, very well. It works awesome for cars. The 1-ton rating, when I bought that, the reason I got the 1-ton, that would work for a 426 Hemi. I'm talking old school, heavy cast iron everything, okay? It works for 440s, works for 360s, 413s, 383s, whatever I could throw at it. That was more than sufficient. The truck is lifted, and then it's lifted from the factory, and then it's cab forward design, and we've got all these issues compounding it. And then instead of pancake mounts, it's spool mounts. When I pulled the motor, I was having to jump on the back of the cherry picker, and I knew it was going to pendulum this way, you know, and crush the condenser, so I put plywood in, because at that point in time, it wasn't a ridiculous world of where this was like a precious commodity, you know. And it dawned on me shortly after that there was no way that 1-ton cherry picker was going to get it back in. A 2-ton could probably do it, because they actually have, especially the Harbor Freight one, it's got longer reach and higher lift, which is what you need. There's a lot of 2-ton units that didn't have the specs that this one has, so be very, very leery of that. But again, that would have been perfect for a car. I would have never needed a 2-ton cherry picker, but the 2-ton cherry picker would have been redundant shop equipment. I then would have felt the need to sell that one. There's obviously not a ton of space in here because we've got crud everywhere, you know. I didn't want to deal with that, and at the price point it would be, which is like what, around $250, If you look at this on sale for like $5.99, you're not spending much more. You're getting a lot more versatility. Case in point, I cannot use the cherry picker. I could not use 2 cherry pickers, at least easily, to pick the bed off of the truck if we needed to replace a fuel pump. The gantry crane can do that. If I ever bring in another, 2nd gen Ram and we want to like build a lowered slammed race truck, okay, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to pull the freaking cab, and I can do that with the gantry crane, and it would be a godsend. The other thing, I finally got a nice engine stand. All my stands prior had been like this. The cool thing about that Harbor Freight stand is it nests with their A-frame cherry picker. This is a really nice stand, and it's geared, but it's also built like your cherry picker. So I don't care what brand it is. If it's an A-frame, it's not going to nest with a standard cherry picker. Again, don't care the brand. It just doesn't happen. It's one of those things you sit there and scratch your head and you're like, why are people this stupid? And with the gantry crane, I eliminate it. If I want to pick the 318 up and put it on that stand on a furniture dolly, or put it on this stand, whatever I want to do, gantry crane has me covered. Similarly, I've got another chain hoist, the 1 ton over there. I'm going to get another trolley, and I'm going to throw it on the beam. If I want to do something weird like pick up an axle or, a toolbox, I can do that. If I want to put wires over the I-beam and then run a tarp on the backside and paint alternator brackets, I've now got like a small paint shield. If I have a 55-gallon drum of oil in the back of the truck, I can use the gantry crane. So many possibilities. Another one, and this is a big deal for me, if I want to come in and pull this motor, let's say I want to put like aluminum heads and change the cam or something, instead of using a cherry picker like I've always done, I'm going to do a deal where I disconnect the K-member and I use the gantry to lift the body up, and then I have a dolly under there. I roll it out, make my mods, make my changes. Just got timed out, but roll the dolly out, roll it back in. The first time I ever do that, I feel like between these 2 engine related jobs, the gantry has paid for itself. Similarly, thinking ahead, let's say that I score a 71 Duster and it doesn't have a motor, or it's a slant 6 or whatever, and then let's say that I find a Imperial or a New Yorker that just happens to have a 440. Using the gantry crane, that same strategy applies. Lift the body off the K-member, leave the K-member, take the car out, swap everything around. Just one of those jobs plus getting this in the truck, it's paid for itself in my opinion. So it also allows me to keep the 1 ton cherry picker, not have the redundant equipment, and I've opened up a world of possibilities. So I realize this is not for everyone. It's overkill for some people. For some people, this would not be sufficient for what they would have in mind. But case in point, like if you do a lot of marine stuff, you run into the same issue with your boat on the trailer, right? The cherry picker just simply doesn't lift high enough. You need a gantry crane for that. That's why if you ever go by like a marina, they've got these old A-frames outside, right? They don't have tons of cherry pickers. They've got A-frame gantry cranes. So if that's the case, if you load a lot of stuff on your trailer, maybe this isn't wide enough, maybe you don't have the height, maybe you're working on like Peterbilts or something in your spare time. But for what I'm doing, this is more than sufficient. The weight range shouldn't be an issue. Try to go lighter, not heavier most of the time, right? But I'm actually pretty happy with it. And as I mentioned, I have used it quite a bit. I think I filmed some of it, who knows, but it is functional for me. I'm really happy with it, and I'm thinking it's going to pay for itself here real soon. So the plan this weekend, I had to bum again labor off my mom, sister, and nephew to stand this thing, which turned out to be a pretty good day. I got everyone dinner afterwards to thank them, but I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to have some free labor again, and I'm going to get that hood off, which will again open the window for the 408 to enter the truck. But yeah, it's one of those things. If you are on the fence about it, you have now my testament. But 2, and most importantly, try to find a Harbor Freight near you that has one of these on display and go check it out in person. Whether you just want to critique it or whatever, but if you're seriously in the market for one, seeing it in person is what sold me on this unit. So it's sort of like, you know, the Icon lineup, the toolboxes in particular, you know, if they have them there on the floor, it's much easier to sell them, in my opinion. Which I have looked at those, they are nice. But again, it's one of those things, you just kind of have like this conception of, you know, what the quality will be. And I was, again, pretty impressed with it. So you got to factor in the price point and what you will be doing, but for me, it works. So that's probably about as short as I can keep this. Again, if you're seriously in the market and you want to know all the ins and outs of putting this thing together, I've got tons and tons of clips I'll need to compile and edit and stuff. And I've got more of, like, you can see the chain hoist here and my failed attempt and everything. But I just wanted to make this video for two reasons. Number one, have it out there. And number two, doing the Ram revival stuff, and if we move in and I start releasing some of the other videos on the cars, it's really hard to hide a gantry crane. So this gets it out there, you know about it. I don't have to like conceal the surprise video, you know, for 2 months or something stupid. So I'm gonna leave it at that, but I genuinely am happy with this purchase, especially getting the 20% off. Also of note, I don't think I covered it in this part, because again, I'm trying to keep this short. There's a good chance I would call ahead if you're sold on this instantly. You know, if this did it for you, whatever it might be, call your store and see if they have it. The perk I got getting this in early February, not only was the 20% coupon still readily available, they had this in stock. This is now kind of moving in like they do their Icon toolboxes, where, yeah, there's a display model in some cases, but it might not be in the back. It might be something that they order in, bring to the store, and you have to come back for. So if you see this and you're like in the truck on your way to Harbor Freight, you're going to throw this thing together Saturday night, you know, get it up, get it used Sunday, you know, so you can do some motor swap, call ahead, save yourself the trouble. Tips to putting it together: have a bigger walkway than I did to drag the pieces through. Give yourself a huge, as big of a space as you can, and preferably don't have anything within like a 12-foot box area, if you will. This was really tight here. It's really tight over there, but I'm not as concerned if that stuff gets hit. But, you know, again, it's just the duster, but I don't want it crushed by a gantry crane swinging. But like I said, I've used it a bit already. If you want to see it in action, I'll possibly get that video out at some point in time, but you'll possibly see it before that in the Ram Revival dropping the engine in. So that'll be something to look forward to. And again, if anybody can find me super cool, cheap Roadrunners, Cudas, Super Bs, whatever, satellites, Cornets, I'm a thrifty guy. We'll come in and we'll get our money's worth real fast that way. So, because like I said, I want to do it, lift the body off the K-member. I think that's going to be my new approach in life, which I can do very easily with the gantry crane. You could technically use a cherry picker. It would be kind of sketchy. So anyway, I legitimately am happy with this thing so far. I haven't run into any issues. The biggest issue is honestly standing it up. That's kind of daunting, I'm not gonna lie. But like I said, hopefully this helps you out. I'm gonna quit rambling, get inside, get this thing edited and uploaded for you. I hope you have yourself a fantastic Saturday. The Ram Revival should be coming back. There's actually a lot of videos I have recorded for other cars, but I felt like it would be weird to start uploading those and then jump back to the Ram Revival. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking things. So that was my logic. Because I've got some simple stuff I did here, but it's like 3 videos, and I thought, man, that's gonna, you know, like, what do I do? Like, do the duster one Wednesday, and then the truck, and then back to the duster. And I thought, you know what, screw it. I don't want to worry about it, don't want to think about it. We're just gonna wait and not have Wednesday videos for a while. So that said, if you hate this, don't worry. We'll probably be back with KC Tool Hauls or something like that next Saturday, which again, I have them already uploaded. So main thing is, it's just impossible for me to hide this giant gantry crane, and I'd rather just kind of have it as a surprise, as to sort of everyone saw it in the background and knew it was there. So like I said, I'm very happy with it. If you're on the fence, try to find a store demo. If you can find someone local that has one. The lady at Harbor Freight, the manager, she told me she sells these things all the time. I've never known anyone that has one, but if she's being honest, I'm sure, you know, they could say, hey, well, I just sold one to so-and-so. or you know, this motor shop has one, or you know, the electrician guy's got two. See one in person. I think it will give you a better idea of what to expect, because again, I, like many of you, would have just kind of laughed this off and said, thanks, but no thanks. But seeing it in person really did change my opinion of it. And again, factor in what you're doing, what you plan to do. Make sure your dimensions, like if you're thinking of trailer stuff, will clear. And then make your purchase. Maybe even wait for the 20% again. So, hey, I got 20%. It was in stock, and it's finally standing. So, here we are. So, like I said, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will catch you back here for more action from the shop.